Yo, good evening. What's up, USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man and homie, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, your host with the most, misunderstood, lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, creator, YouTuber, and Queens, New York native who is also a New York Mets fan from the neck of the woods of Laurelton, Queens, New York. And yes, you're now rocking with me by tuning in, listening, streaming, and watching the 101st episode of the Sports Edition Show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast. The space for all things sports in the NFL, NBA, MLB, including the New York Mets, and everything else in between. And I hope everyone at home is keeping themselves cool. It was pretty brutal in today's weather, and I'm pretty sure the subway stations has been very hot as well. And it is pretty dangerous out there. So make sure y'all have your water, and if y'all going to the beach, make sure y'all have your sunscreen as well. And if you guys are looking for cooling centers and stuff, all you need to do is go ahead and call 311, and they'll give you the details on each location of the cooling centers in the neighborhood near you. Live and direct from StreamYard alongside with YouTube. And speaking of StreamYard, if you want to level up, whether you are a gamer who does live streams, or even a podcaster, or whatever you do on YouTube, um, so here's some things you could do. Now, you can use your email address or your podcast email address to create an account. So that way you'll be able to get a $10 discount. All you need to do is go ahead and check out StreamYard.com. That's www.streamyard.com. All right. So leave a like and a comment alongside with the sports topics being discussed in each episode. And also don't forget to actually leave a 5-star rating and of course a review on Apple Podcasts. It will really mean a lot to me, and a big encouragement for me to continue creating a, a creating episodes, and of course more more topics, and of course more podcast shows. So that would really mean a lot. Yeah. And in case you're wondering, I'm burning a little time until the New York Mets and the Padres play like around 9:30 ish. So what I'm gonna do my best to actually not make it too long, but I can't really promise y'all that though. But I am gonna try to watch it on my Android tablet though, so that's why I have it next to me. So there. All right, so it's been a long time since I did anything rumor related, right? It's been a long time since I did anything rumor related. So I like to actually get into. So we gotta talk about some trade rumors that's been going on, and I am gonna include the Mark Vientos thing, and I will do some highlights about the sweeps that the Mets have from the Angels and the San Francisco Giants in a different episode. Um, so yeah, I'll cover that as well. All right, so there's a segment that I haven't done in a long time in regards to rumors. So because Thursday coming up is the trade deadline and stuff like that, right? I'm gonna do some highlights in regards to the trade deadline and all that stuff. So um, So yeah, I'd like to get into it right here. And I'd like to get into this right here, right now, with rumor alerts in the air. There you go. For those of you that is new to the channel and don't know what rumor alerts in the air is, this is a segment where I actually cover the bases and try to debunk the rumors and take it with a grain of salt because it's not really excuse me because it's not really like it's not really true per se or confirmed. So I'm basically trying to debunk this. So here we go. Let's get into the trade rumors. All right. So first things first, let's get into this right here. So this is from Clutch Points. All right. The New York Mets were the team of the offseason, signing Juan Soto to the richest contract in the sports history. After getting swept by the Atlanta Braves, they are tied for the NL East lead with the Philadelphia Phillies. With the MLB trade deadline approaching, the Mets have the pitching prospects to be big players. The athletic the Athletics' Ken Rosenthal spoke with sources about the New York's trade deadline plans. In quote, look for the New York Mets to again leverage their pitching rich farm system, Rosenthal reported. After trading multiple minor league pitchers last year, the Mets possess enough attractive arms in their farm system to supplement their roster without dealing their top pros excuse me, without dealing their top pitching prospects. Rival evaluators familiar with the organization said such depth, especially with arms that other clubs like, makes them all the more dangerous that when you add that they can probably take on money because of their owner, and they are led by David Stearns in a good front office. One National League GM told Rosenthal, "I'll get to David Stearns' press conference in a sec." Last year, the New York the Mets traded four minor league pitchers for players who helped them reach the NLCS. They could do it again, but Brandon Sproat and Christian Scott would not have to be on the move. They have four other pitching prospects in the top 15, including Jonah Tong and Noah McLean. The Mets could use an infielder to spell their struggling younger players, Luis Angel Acuna and Mark Vientos. Acuna has 6 RBIs and a 591 OPS in 63 games, and Vientos has taken a significant step back with just a 298 OBP compared to last year's 322 number. Ramon Urias from the Orioles and Isaiah Kina um, Falafe, Falafa from the Pirates would be solid low cost options. Not so sure about that one right there. The Mets have gotten off to a solid start, but seven straight losses have fans looking for reinforcements. If they are fine saying goodbye to pitching prospects, they could be big trade deadline players. Um. All right. So there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk in regards to Mark Vientos. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that right there. So so I'm gonna just talk. I'm just yeah. So and I think yeah, this is from the New York Post. From let me just damn, what's going on with this thing? All right, so with his name often popping up in trade rumors, Mark Vientos' stretch run might have arrived. To begin trade deadline week, Vientos played as if he does not want to be traded, with the Mets front office weighing what to do with a crowded and young infield group that includes Vientos, Brett Beatty, and Ronnie Mauricio before Thursday's deadline. Vientos responded with the type of night that reminded of his breakout last year. After getting robbed of one home run by leaping right fielder Fernando Tatis Jr., damn him, um, Vientos blasted his next shot to right a few feet deeper, good for a grand slam in the Mets' eventual 7-6 series of opening loss to the Padres at Petco Park on Monday, which was yesterday. Um, it was really good to see Mark Vientos having the type of game he had today, manager Carlos Mendoza said. For him to get that big one right there, that was very encouraging. It was really, yeah, Vientos, who crushed 27 home runs in 111 games in a star turn of a 2024 season before going off during a huge postseason, had entered play in a 23 game homerless drought. That changed not in the fourth inning when Tatis timed his jump perfectly and brought back what would have been a two-run homer, but in the fifth when the Padres elected to walk Jeff McNeil to load the bases, and just as the Dodgers had internationally walked Francisco Lindor to load the bases for Vientos in Game Two of the NLCS last year, Vientos made the Bay end quote. I'm happy I get put into those situations, said Vientos, whose opposite field slam off Dylan Cease was just the seventh homer in 74 games this year. The 25-year-old has never lacked confidence, but his manager referred to Vientos as not happy with his own ups and downs of the season thus far, but also understanding that he's got an opportunity, Mendoza said before the game. When he's in the lineup, he can help us win baseball games. But he continues to work, he continues to grind, he continues to make adjustments. He's a really good player, and we're going to need him. Because of Vientos' power, prospect pedigree, and breakout season last year, there would be interest on the trade market if the club dangles Vientos, because he cannot be optioned to AAA Syracuse, and because he is not a strong defender and a third baseman, where both Beatty and Mauricio have locked stronger. There is a question of where he fits on the team. But if his bat is indeed coming around, he could find himself in find himself both in the lineup frequently as DH or third baseman, and could find himself remaining with the Mets. I'm just doubling down on my approach and what I want at the plate and staying convicted to it, Vientos said. The Mets are still not sure about the next step of Paul Blackburn, who threw 87 pitches Sunday while allowing one run in 6 and 1/3 innings in AAA Syracuse. The righty, who has been sidelined since June 28th with a right shoulder impingement, was traveling Monday and set to return to Citi Field to meet with trainers on Tuesday. We'll talk to him. We'll talk to him. We'll see where he's at, how he's feeling. Mendoza said of Blackburn, who projects as rotation depth in a rotation that is filled with no, excuse me, filled at the moment. And then we got to make a decision. Of course, Tyler McGill threw a bullpen session Sunday and came out fine, Mendoza said. McGill out with a right elbow sprain will need one more session before he starts facing batters. Jose Iglesias talked with and hugged many Mets, including Edwin Diaz, aka Sugar, Francisco Alvarez, Shamanai, and Brandon Nimmo, on the field before the game against his former team. What is this room? Hold on. What is this rumor about him, about Mark Vientos being traded to the fucking Chicago White Sox for Robert? You got to be fucking kidding me. You got to be fucking kidding me right there. You got to be fucking kidding me. This is gonna sound crazy, and I'm not gonna hold you, man. But I was listen. I was watching straight out of Flushing Mets podcast by Dexter Henry. Shouts to him and his new and his most recent new podcast, of course. And I gotta say, man, I gotta say, this is I have to say, for what I've been seeing in some of the Mets fans who don't want Luis Robert, I would tend to agree with them. And the reason I would agree with them is because of the fact that we all know that he has a history of being injured. Okay. And then you have to really wonder about um taking his you gotta wonder about his taking over his contract or whatever. And David Stern's not gonna really go for that. And I don't know, man. And look, it's one thing to actually try to get a center fielder, right? But at the same time, but at the same time, I feel like y'all doing this out of desperation to win a championship. And and let's say y'all do win a championship. Let's say y'all do win a championship, right? What happens if you have to win another one? What happens if you have to win another one? That's not going to be easy. And getting another bat is going to cost you mad money. And another thing I wanted to actually say is, before I even go into the David Stearns thing, is you don't give up your prospects for a rental. Okay, it doesn't matter how good the player is. Giving up prospects for a rental is the biggest mistake and regret that you will ever, ever face. And as far as like and as far as like the whole Cedric Mullins thing, I don't know, man. Cedric Mullins, I don't really know too much about him, but I'm gonna just leave it as that though. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second here. I want to talk about another rumor in regards to Mark Vientos and the Chicago White Sox. All right. So before I go on to the David Stearns press conference, let's get into more of the Mark Vientos rumor. All right. Um, According to Yahoo Sports, here's what's happening here. Hang on. Okay, so Chicago White Sox star Luis Robert Jr. has been the subject of trade speculation for a very long time. With the MLB trade deadline fast approaching, it appears that at least one team is awfully close to making a deal for him. That team is the New York Mets, and the White Sox have a specific plan for what they want in return. The Chicago White Sox want third baseman Mark Vientos from the New York Mets in any deal for Luis Robert Jr., who has a 983 OPS in 11 in July 11th games. Bob Nightingale wrote for USA Today. Robert has been linked to the Mets for some time. That connection started this previous offseason when the White Sox outfielder worked out with the New York Mets star Juan Soto. Soto said that he was very impressed with Robert and would welcome the chance to play together. The White Sox are mirrored in another disappointing season with a 38-67 record. Oh, damn. New York, meanwhile, is leading the National League East with 61-44 mark. Damn, that's embarrassing for a baseball team. Robert is not hitting the ball all that well this season, but he has picked up his offense of late. The White Sox are getting lots of interest for him. As a result, Robert is hitting 206 this season with 10 home runs for the struggling Chicago Cub. Chicago, excuse me, Chicago Club. In um his last 7 games, the outfielder is on a tear. He has a 400 batting average with 10 hits in his last 25 at bats. The White Sox have actually been winning a good amount lately with 6 victories in their last 10 games. That include a 3 game sweep of the struggling Pittsburgh Pirates on the road at PNC Park. Along with the Mets, the Philadelphia Phillies had expressed strong interest in acquiring Robert. The Mets and Phillies are dueling for the NL East crown this season, as just half a game separates them in that division. Vientos is having a somewhat disappointing season for the Mets. He has a 226 batting average with 27 home runs this year. No, 27 RBIs, excuse me, this year. That production is lower than his output in 2024. Last year, Vientos batted at a 266 average with 71 runs batted in. Time will tell if Robert is dealt by the time the trade deadline ends on July 31st. That's a Thursday, so that's coming up actually. So, remains to be seen, man. I'll do a highlight in who got dealt and all other stuff in the following episode. So stay tuned for that though. One thing I would say in the whole thing is I don't know, because you gotta really think about it though, man. It's not just a damn risk. It's not just a damn risk. You gotta think about the fucking farm system. You gotta think about the farm system, and you have to be careful. You have to be careful on what type of trade you're doing that won't affect like the prospects in the farm. You know what I'm saying? And 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 to actually and like I said, I don't even think David Stearns will go for the idea of going for Luis Robert, because listen, he's not going to tell you what particular player that he's going to actually pick. So you know what I mean. And and speaking of David Stearns, this is where I'm going to segue to his press conference. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the trade rumor of Mark Vientos. Um, should the Mets go for Luis Robert Jr., or do you think that they shouldn't because of the because of the the contract situation and the payment and the farm? So let me know in the comments. And speaking of David Stearns, let's get into what Sports Illustrated was talking about here. So, of course, Will Salmon is in charge of that. So let's get into it right here. So, the New York Mets head baseball decision maker has spoken. On Monday, President of Baseball Operations David Stearns talked to reporters about the Mets' possible plan with the MLB trade deadline looming in 10 days. Um, According to Stearns, the Mets will be very active in their pursuit of bullpen help ahead of the deadline. Yeah, from what I'm hearing, I think they're just going to really focus on the bullpen. I don't really think they're going to be. I don't know if they should worry too much about the. I don't think they should worry too much about center field, because I mean, you know what I mean. And you know what I meant to say about the whole Luis Robert Jr. thing. Let's say the New York Mets get Luis Robert Jr. How do you know he's not going to get hurt? How do you know he's not going to injure? He's not going to get hurt and injure himself again. I mean, if you if you looked at his numbers, his OPS, right? If you looked at his numbers and his OPS and stuff, that should tell you something. That shit should tell you that he's fucking washed. That's not me saying it. There's some Met fans out there that actually said that he's washed. Let's continue. Um, providing our group some reinforcements in the bullpen would be great, Stern said. There are generally relievers traded at the deadline, so I'm sure there will be some and will be involved in that. Stearns noted that if deals don't happen in the bullpen, then they will have to potentially look at their arms in AAA to serve as big league relievers. However, Stearns acknowledged the challenge of shortening a starting pitcher during the season. Once you do that, you can't reverse yourself in the same season. Once we shorten someone up to give them a chance to be a member of our pen, it's really tough to build them back up again if you need them as a starter. So we want to be very cautious if we entertain that, Stearns said. The Mets have top prospect starters Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean, and Blake Tidwell in AAA, any of whom could possibly be asked to come up as a reliever in the major league bullpen down the stretch. That being said, Stearns has indicated that bullpen is essentially the team's top priority on the trade market. I would focus on the bullpen, man. I would focus on the bullpen, man. You have to. I mean, come on. Instead of worrying about the bullpen, how about take the time and put all your energy to retool the Mets bullpen? And yes, that's the name of the episode. Retool. You got to retool. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Bullpen help. Beyond bullpen help, Stearns is generally pleased with what he has seen from the team's position player group. He did, however, highlight center field as an area in which the Mets might be able to improve in. Stearns liked the defense that Tyrone Taylor brings and believes Jeff McNeil has become more comfortable in center field as of late. But the top executive anticipates the Mets at least being involved in center field on the trade market. I'm certain we're going to be engaged, but we got to be clear. We got to clear a bar that we think actually makes us better, given the price that I think these things are going to cost. Stearns said of potentially acquiring a center fielder. Exactly. You have to be careful as far as the cost. As far as the cost. And you have to be careful and know which trade is worth it versus the ones that is not worth it. So that's pretty much my understanding of what he's saying. Last but not least, Stearns also addressed third base, which is where Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, and Ronnie Mauricio all split time. Per Stern, per Stearns, the expectation is that the group the Mets currently have at the hot corner will be who they rely on at the position for the rest of the season. So, with the deadline itching closer, it sounds as though Stearns and the Mets will be upgrading their bullpen. Yes, focus on the bullpen. Focus on retooling the bullpen. They could also bring in a center fielder, but that doesn't seem like as much of a need to the front office as pen help. And it appears the Mets will go with that. Will go with what they have at third base. I'm not gonna hold you. Ronnie Mauricio does have a cannon of an arm at third base, and so does Beatty. So does Brett Beatty. You know what I mean? And I gotta say, man, you have to. I mean, and I gotta say, man, you, you're not. First of all, and I did hear a rumor in regards to the Mets getting Eugenio Suarez, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's just gonna happen though. So you know, like I said before, I am going to do a recap of the trade deadline, see what happened, the aftermath behind it, and who got dealt whatever it may be, and all that stuff. So let's get into oh oh before I go into the quick side bleacher bar segment. Um, let's so in a little more than 2 weeks. Well, actually, it's not really 2 weeks, but the Mets clubhouse could look dramatically different than the one that entered the All Star break. With the trade deadline slated for 6 p.m. on July 31st, the hiatus provides an oppor- opportune time for the front office to assess where the team stands heading into the most important 3 months of the season. Injuries have hit the Mets pitching staff hard in recent weeks, with Griffin Canning sustaining a season ending Achilles injury. Daniel Nunez actually talked about that, suffering the same fate with an elbow injury, and Max Kranick awaiting his own opinion on a right flexor tendon strain. And then Tyler McGill and Paul Blackburn are also on the shelf too. And all those sideline players make adding pitching depth a priority heading into the deadline in 2 weeks. There is also the potential to add some run scoring options near the bottom of the lineup. Aha. With three needs in mind, here are five names who the Mets should consider targeting at this year's trade deadline. Man, let me tell you something, man. That's crazy. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something though. Whatever the Mets do, I think I think they should stick to what they got though, man. Because and I say that because you don't want to overplay a player like a Eugenio Suarez or Luis Robert Jr. and all that stuff with all of this stuff. And that's why I said that David Stearns is not really the typical person who picks players due to due to sexy names. He's not the typical person who he's not the typical person who gives long-term deals to people. And and pretty much though, um you got to really you got to really wait and see, folks, because I know everybody has their theories, like people shouts to Ryan Finkelstein from the Locked On Mets podcast, and along with other other Mets content creators who have a podcast as well. So yeah, you just gotta wait and see, and not second guess and overthink. You know what I mean? So yeah, there you have it right there. There you have it right there. But nah, man, those injuries the Mets suffered has been scary, scary and horrible actually. So yeah. All right, sorry about that. Wrong button. Anyway, all right, let's get into some key players. That brand. Let's get into some key players actually. That the Mets targets. Let's see. So you have Zach Gallen. The top of the Mets starting rotation is getting healthier following the return of Sean Manaea, but the major question for the front office will be whether they believe it holds the same firepower of some of their top top competition in the Dodgers, Phillies, and Giants. Beyond Manaea, who excelled last postseason, Kodai Senga and David Peterson have made a combined 3 playoff starts. Acquiring a pitcher like Zach Gallen would help bolster the depth in the starting rotation down the stretch while bringing in a starter who made 6 starts on the Diamondbacks run to the World Series in 2023. Gallen was once consistently viewed as one of the top starters in the National League before falling on tough times this season. He is 7'10 with a 5.40 ERA and 1.37 whip with 110 strikeouts and 115 innings. He's shown some encouraging signs, holding the Padres and Giants to one combined earned run in 13 innings in 2 starts in July. David Bednar, the Pirates' 2-time All-Star closer, had a rough start to the 2025 season that culminated him being sent to AAA Indianapolis. Since he returned in mid-April, Bednar has reclaimed the form that placed him among the top closers in the game 2 seasons ago. He is 12 for 12 in safe chances while posting a 2-3 record with 44 strikeouts in 31 innings, 1.74 ERA, and 1.00 whip in since his return. Excuse me. Um, there are questions about the Mets' high leverage options ahead of Edwin Diaz, and Bednar would bring some stability in that area. He also provides a different look than many of the Mets relievers with a high 90s fastball and curveball as his secondary pitch of choice. Kyle Finnegan. The Nationals have sunk to the bottom of the National League East, and one of their most attractive trade pieces is closer Kyle Finnegan. After claiming his first All Star selection in 2024, Finnegan signed a 1 year, $6 million deal in the offseason and continues to be a dependable force late in games. This season, he has converted 18 saves with a 3.12 ERA in 34 and two-third innings and 27 strikeouts. Finnegan does not blow anyone away with a mid 90s fastball and a splitter that produces a 30.9 whiff rate. He would make another strong counterpoint ahead of Diaz in the late stages of close games. Um, Hobby Milner. When the Mets signed AJ Minter in the offseason, they believed that they had their left-handed stalwart out of the bullpen. But Minter suffered a torn lat muscle, and the Mets stable of bullpen southpaws has been a revolving door ever since. Brooks Raley, who was signed following Minter's injury, appears to be on the way back from Tommy John surgery, but Hobie Milner will be another intriguing lefty death piece in the bullpen. By the way, Brooks Raley did return, and I did see him in the reliever role actually, in not probably more than one game actually. So So yeah, they're really trying to ease Brooks Raley in without making things um complicated. Man, yeah. So Milner is on an off affordable 1 year $2.5 million deal. Um, hold on. Brooks Raley, who was signed following Mitch's injury, appears to be. Yeah, I already did that. Yeah, Milner is on an affordable 1 year, $2.5 million deal for the Rangers. In 44 appearances this season, the 34-year-old lefty is 1-2 with a 2.35 ERA and 1.11 WHIP with 40 strikeouts in 46 innings. Milner's sidearm delivery would be another weapon to keep opponents off balance. And Stearns is familiar with the reliever from his 4 seasons in Milwaukee. Cedric Mullins, that some people were talking about, one of the areas in the Mets lineup that has not produced in the top half of MLB is the center field position. Uh, the Mets the Mets middle of the outfield has produced a 614 OPS, seventh worst in the league. While Tyrone Taylor is an excellent defender with captivating range, his offensive ceiling is not very high. A player of Cedric Mullins provides a degree of offensive explosiveness that is lacking at this point. Despite a 213 batting average, the 30-year-old Mullins has poked 13 home runs, driven in 41 runs, and scored 38 runs. He has also stolen 13 bases. Mullins is also a quality defender who hits from the left side, opposite of Taylor, to provide a little more versatility. Yeah, I don't know about that one right there, man. I don't know about that though, man. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know about Cedric Mullins. So, like I said, we have to wait and see what happens on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And I will do an aftermath of what happened during the trade deadline. So I got y'all with that one right there. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the trade rumors and the trade and the types of trades that you want the Mets to go for, but without affecting without affecting the prospects in the farm system. And to be careful on which trade you're trying to do the without overpaying a player. You know what I mean? So there you go. Let's see. All right, we got an injury scenario that we got to get into right here in the quick side bleacher bar segment right here. So let's get to it. Let's get to it right here. All right, so unfortunately, Jesse Winker is back on the injured list again. That's crazy. That's very crazy right there. Um, let's see. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So according to Sports Illustrated, the New York Mets provided injury updates on their injured designated hitter duo on Friday afternoon. Um, Prior to the Mets' 8-4 loss to the Cincinnati Reds, manager Carlos Mendoza informed reporters on the status of both Jesse Winker. He's not coming back anytime soon. Starlin Marte is already back, so he returned from a knee bruise, so he's back already. So yeah. Um, let me see. Let me see. Yeah. Of course, Marte is getting close to return, as Mendoza said that the veteran DH outfielder is doing baseball activities, which he's done. Um, Mendoza suggested that Marte could potentially be back from the IL within 3 to 5 days. He's going to run the bases at high intensity, sprinting, hitting, velo machine, Mendoza said of Marte, uh, but he's definitely progressing. Mendoza did not have a positive of news to share regarding Winker, who received an epidural on Friday as a result of his back injury, not responding the way the club had hoped. Winker will be shut down for additional 7 to 10 days from baseball activities. Yikes! Yeah. Let me see. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, this is pretty bad. This is pretty bad right there. Um, all right, so per Mendoza, the Mets decided to be a little more aggressive with Winker's rehab. That being said, the veteran left-hander slugger is not close to return. Winker missed significant time due to an oblique strain suffered earlier in the season. Upon returning from the IL in the following week before the All-Star break, Winker lasted just 2 games and 3 total at bats prior to injuring himself again. The expectation that was that Winker and Marte would be the platoon DH tandem for the Mets in 2025. Winker has posted a 709 OPS and has been limited to 26 games this year due to multiple injuries. Marte has dealt with injury issues of his own and has played in just 58 games this season. So yeah, there you go right there. Let's see. Let's see. What else can we talk about here? Um, all right, man. Let me see. Yeah, everybody's been talking mad shit about Frankie Montas and stuff, man. How bad he is and stuff. And the crazy, you want to know what the crazy thing is with Frankie Montas? He won 3 games. He's won 3 games and stuff. So let's not forget that. Um, what's going on with this thing? Hold on 1 second here. This is crazy here. This is crazy. Let's go to Let's go to. Hang on 1 second here. So Frankie Montas, the guy who signed a 2 year deal, um, it's crazy to say. It's crazy to say that he won 3 games, right? He's won 3 games actually. So, you know what I mean. Um, so let's see. Yeah. So so Frankie Montas took the ball in his fourth and best start, making his return from the lat strain he suffered in spring training. Though his Mets tenure hasn't gotten off to an ideal start, each of Montas's start has been better than the one before, culminating in the performance he put together this weekend. In his second win of the season, Montas's stuff looked the sharpest it's been so far. He has effectively locating his fastball, and which comfortably sat around 95 to 96 miles per hour all afternoon. And his slider splitter combination was especially deadly. After surrendering a game opening double down, the third baseline to Royals DH Jonathan India, Montas retired the next 10 Royals he faced. Through the first 3 innings, Kansas City's pitching had kept the Mets bats in check. Openers Angel Zerpa and Jonathan Bowlen combined to set down the first 8 straight Mets batters before Torrens finally broke the silence with a 2-out double in the third. Unfortunately, a strikeout from left fielder Brandon Nimmo arrested any potential momentum before it could get going. Luckily, they get it back almost immediately. Following a 3 up, 3 down third from Montas, Lindor came to the plate to kick off the top of the fourth. He singled, then promptly stole second. His 200 stolen base his 200 career stolen base taken without a throw. Then Soto, still not an all star at the game. I talked about that situation already. He's not pressed about that shit though. Hit his 23rd home run. Actually, he'd hit more than 23 already. Actually, so this is a little recap. Um, Home run, 23rd home run of the season. A towering 435-foot monster of a mash that left his bat at nearly 107 miles per hour to put the Mets ahead 2-0. Soto's homer was all the Mets would need till the ninth, thanks to the combination of stellar pitching and rock solid defense. Upon surrendering 2 straight doubles and his first run of the day, Montas turned the ball over to bullpen stalwart Reed Garrett, After a 4-run blow-up appearance on July 2nd, Garrett has bounced back beautifully with 4 scoreless outings, which he continued on Saturday by standing the potential tying run at third and getting the ball to Chris Davinsky for the seventh. It was in the later innings that the Mets defenders would start putting on a show. After coming into the game as a defensive replacement for third baseman Mark Vientos, shifting Beatty from second to third, and of course, pinch hitter second baseman Luis Angel Acuna came up with a pair of heads up plays to end the seventh inning and strand yet another Royals runner at third. In the bottom of the ninth, center fielder Tyrone Taylor made another gold glove caliber catch, flying across the most cavernous outfield in MLB to snare a fly ball in the right field gap off the bat. of Royals third baseman Garcia, Michael Mar- Michael Garcia, preventing at least a double and helping maintain the 2-run lead. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty. And yeah, and let me see. So in quote, I'm trying to be a little better each start, said Montas. I've been working pretty hard on controlling my pitches, and I feel like the past two outings I've been able to do that. And despite the limited sample size, it seems noteworthy to me that Montaz's slider usage has already ticked back up considerably compared to last season. Earlier in his career, Montaz used his slider as often as 25% of the time. Last season, though, he deployed it just 165 times, a meager 6% usage rate. Through these first four starts in 2025, it's his second most used pitch, 18.5%, much closer to his career average. And looking at the numbers, it seems he's using it a bit differently than he used to. Throughout his career, including last season, Montas has turned to his slider as a put away pitch around one around 17.5% of the time. Earlier in his career, that number was closer to 25% to 30% and beyond. Even last year, it was his put away pitch in 21% of his strikeouts. That's what K stands for, strikeouts. However, through his first four starts of 2025, he's yet to generate a single strikeout with the slider, despite its increased usage. Instead, it looks like he's turning to it more as a setup pitch. Looking at each pitch usage rate in his repertoire, it seems to me that Montaz is trying to more closely pair his slider with his even more dangerous splitter, which has been utterly dominant in these initial starts. The batters who've faced it are managing a 100 BA, a 200 slug, and no, excuse me, 200 SLG, excuse me, and a 177 WOBA. Y'all could look up those acronyms yourselves. Um, yeah, that's crazy, man. So the reason these two pitches work so well together, in particular, is a combination of shape and sequencing. Throw at almost the same average velocity and from a very similar, if not identical, attack angle. These two pitches look nearly the same out of Montaz's hand until they break in completely different direction at the last second by tunneling these two pitches. Montaz looks to be trying to elicit a swing path timing disruption by relying on movement variation alone to confuse hitters, whereas a traditional fastball slider attack combinations uses variations in both speed and movement to throw a hitter off their rhythm. Tunneling two breaking pitches with opposite shapes throws a fun new wrinkle into the mix for hitters to try and solve. Should I be sitting off speed? And if so, which one? That strategy appears to be working. 41% of hitters are whiffing on his splitter in 2025. So, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, overall about Frankie Montas, man, I have to really say yes, he has his ups and downs, especially when it comes to losing games, and especially giving up home runs and stuff, which is very it's not easy to do, But I will say this though, man. I will say this though, man. I mean, every pitcher goes through a rut. It's not just it's not just it's not just players at the batter's box. So he's not the only one going through this. All right, so all right, moving on from Frankie Montas, man, man. So the Mets recently acquired Gregory Soto. Very interesting, but no relation to Juan Soto, by the way. No relation to Juan Soto, but anyway, let's get to Gregory Soto. Hold on. All right, so according to USA Today, the MLB trade deadline is still days away, but the New York Mets are making moves. The Mets have acquired Baltimore Orioles left-handed reliever Gregory Soto in exchange for pitching prospect Arace, Ar- Wellington Aracina, Aracina, Wellington Aracina, and Cameron Foster on Friday afternoon. Mets president of baseball operations David Stearns acted swiftly to fill a need for another left-handed pitcher in the team's bullpen. He pulled the trigger with a little less than a week to go until Thursday's 6 p.m. trade deadline. End quote. You never know whether you are going to be able to line up Stearns told reporters. I don't know how many lefty relievers are actually going to be traded this time. So we weren't certain, but with the injuries we've had from that side of the pen over the course of the season, the importance that an arm from the left side can potentially have um, down the stretch and hopefully into October, it was certainly something we were looking to accomplish. Stern said the Mets and Orioles had been in discussions off and on for the last few weeks before the deal crossed the finish line late Thursday night. Last season, he made a similar move, adding righty reliever Phil Maton, who's no longer a Met, nearly 3 weeks before the deadline. What to know about Gregory Soto, you ask? Soto is a weapon against left-handed hitters, holding them to a 556 OPS while picking up 22 strikeouts in 57 at bats. Overall, this season, Soto has a 3.96 ERA and 1.29 WHIP and 44 strikeouts in 36 and one third innings across 45 appearances. The 30-year-old Southpaw signed a 1 year, $5.35 million deal with the Orioles in the offseason to avoid arbitration. He will enter free agency for the first time after completing the 2025 season with the Mets. $5.35 million. Wow. Wow. Soto will join Brooks Raley as the team's pair of left-handers in the bullpen, with AJ Minter and Danny Young both lost for the season with the season-ending injuries. Soto would join Brooks Raley as the team's pair of left-handers in the bullpen with AJ Minter. Yeah, it's a big arm. He's pitched in leverage spots, Stern said. We were looking to help complement our bullpen from the left side. It's not always easy to do that this time of year. And so, as we began to overlap on some names with Baltimore, we believe this was the time to push this one through. Leading with a sinker and slider, Soto is able to keep opponents off the barrel with a 4.3% barrel rate that is in the top 6% of Major League Baseball. Opponents are batting 182 against his slider this season. Who did Mets trade, you ask? Wellington, Aracena, Cameron Foster. Aracena is a 20-year-old right-handed pitcher who was signed by the Mets to a minor league deal out of the Dominican Republic in 2022. The Mets' number 19 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, he was an all-star in the Dominican Summer League in 2023 and has risen to single A St. Lucie this season, where he is 1-1 with a 2.38 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, and 84 strikeouts, and 64 and one third innings in 8 starts and 17 appearances. His strengths include a high 90s fastball with a low 90s cutter. Foster, a Murray State product, is a former 14-round pick by the Mets in the 2022 MLB draft. The right-hander it has excelled at Double A Binghamton this season, posting a 4-4-1 record with a 1.01 ERA and 0.83 WHIP in 19 appearances. Speaking of appearances, Francisco Alvarez made his return to the Mets. So, according to AMNY, David Stearns has worked 10 years as a Major League Baseball executive. He's seen the different ways players respond to being sent down in the middle of the season. End quote. I've seen players sulk and ask, why is this happening? Why me? The New York Mets president of baseball operations said before his club's 7-5 comeback win over the Los Angeles Angels on Monday night at Citi Field. And then I've seen players turn the corner and look to get back and look to work and look to work with the instructors in a less pressurized environment. The latter scenario is exactly what Francisco Alvarez, the Mets' 23-year-old catcher, did in his 19-game AAA stint, which ended Monday with his return to the major leagues for New York's series opener against the Angels. Alvarez comes up clutch in first first game back. Alvarez was instrumental in the Mets' comeback. He was initially tasked with catching Kodai Senga in his first game back from AAA. He batted eighth between Brett Baty and Luis Angel Acuna. In the bottom of the eighth, the score tied at 5. Alvarez hit a 96 miles per hour fastball deep to right center, but with some top spin, he thought the Angels right fielder Chris Taylor was going to catch it. The ball hit the fence. Brett Baty advanced to third. Next, Ronnie Mauricio, pinch hitting for Acuna, reached on a fielder's choice, scoring Baty and the winning run. Alvarez had come through. Alvarez's ability to hit the ball hard to all parts of the field makes him a threat at the plate. This was what had been missing from his game. End quote. I just wish I could have scored for him on that double, Beatty said. For him to come through in that spot tonight was amazing. He lives for the big moment. Alvarez scored on a Brendan Nimmo sacrifice fly to give New York its seventh run on a night in which he was welcomed back with a standing ovation by the Citi Field crowd in the bottom of the second inning ahead of his first plate appearance, much to his surprise. He walked twice in the bottom of the fourth and again to lead off the bottom of the seventh. He scored when Francisco Lindor reached on a force out. In the top of the seventh, Alvarez gunned down Angels shortstop Zach Neto as he tried to steal second base. Later in the inning, he tagged out Mike Trout, who attempted to extend the Angels' lead to 6-2 to as Joe Adele reached on a fielder's choice. Shit. Hit his note. Don't run on Alvarez. His 34.5% caught stealing rate is the third best in MLB. Alvarez's strong play on both sides of the ball felt good, helping the Mets and who need to continue compiling wins after a 10-20 stretch was the sweetener. Had we lost this game, Alvarez said through translator Alan Sorrell, end quote, and I would have hit that double and I would have thrown out the runner. It wouldn't have felt the same. We're here for the reason of winning. Alvarez's confidence is back. The Mets manager Carlos Mendoza could see it in the box. His catcher was in control of his bat. Watching him the whole game, said Mendoza, the takes, couple walks, and then for him to drive the ball like that against a righty, that's a real good sign. Kind of like what we've been seeing the past 2 weeks or so. Handled it like a pro inside Alvarez's AAA stint. Alvarez was sent down on June 22nd amid struggles at the plate, stretching back to last season. Alvarez hit 25 home runs in 2023, his first season in the major leagues. Last year, his home run total dropped to 11. He had a 237 average and a 710 OPS. This season, Alvarez broke a hamate bone in his left wrist in spring training when he was trying to revamp his approach at the plate. In his 35 games, he was batting, 236 with a 652 OPS. He had just 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. Stearns explained that when a player experiences a stretch of poor results at the major league level, he can start to spiral. Defensively, Alvarez is a very natural, authentic catcher. The Mets wanted him to get back to fundamentals. Players normally have 72 hours to report to AAA. Stearns was prepared to give his catcher an extra couple of days. Alvarez showed up immediately. He got to work. He worked hard. He worked extremely hard, Stearns said. I think he understood and recognized that the way he was performing at the major league level on both sides of the ball was not who he was. Alvarez raked in AAA. He raked in AAA. In the 19 games he played with Syracuse, he hit 11 home runs. 7 of these came in his last 6 games, where he hit 476 with with 10 runs, 2 doubles, and 15 RBIs, while posting a 2.164 OPS. He worked on all aspects of his game. Both Stearns and Mendoza praised his blocking improvements. That's part of the big. That's part of. That's part of what big league players go through at times. Mendoza said, "You are going to face challenges, and there's going to be adversity, whether it's at this level or in the minor leagues." And he handled it like a pro. For Alvarez, his priority now shifts to sticking in the majors. It's important, he said, that he stays with the Mets. He doesn't want to get sent down again. When you stumble on a rock, you don't want to stumble there again, Alvarez said. So it's just continue to move forward and avoid that rock so you don't stumble again. I like that analogy. I really like that analogy that he says right there, man. And yes, man. And yes, he is back though, man. He's been playing he's been playing good so far though, man. Not just with the home runs, but trying to come through. I'm very happy for the guy that he 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 returned to the Mets. Very happy. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see if there's any more. Oh, we can talk about Jonah Tong and Carson Benge's future. Let's talk about that though, man. Yeah, I didn't forget that. I did not forget that. Good thing I didn't forget that though, man. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Let's see. Wait, hold on a minute. Hold on a second here. Hold on one second. Yeah, let's talk about Jonah Tong and Carson Bench for a sec. All right, so minor. So this is from minor. So this is from Mets minors website. All right, let's talk about that. Um, all right, this is from Mets minors. Let's get into what's going on here. The Stars of Tomorrow kicked off All Star Weekend in Atlanta, which took place days ago, actually, on the previous following Saturday, actually. Um, the New York Mets had two minor league players selected to play in this year's All Star Futures game. Right-handed pitcher Jonah Tong, Mets number two ranked prospect. MLB's number 59 prospect, and outfielder Carson Benge, Mets number three prospect, MLB number 74 prospect. Tong so far this season is 6-4 with a 1.83 ERA and 125 strikeouts. The Mets' seventh round draft pick from 2022 has had a phenomenal year for Double A Binghamton. Opposing batters are batting just 141 against him. Benj is another future star of tomorrow who has had a breakout season. He has split the first half of the season between single A Brooklyn and double A Binghamton. With double A, he is batting 302, which is also what he batted with Brooklyn. 444, 512 with a 956 OPS. He had three doubles, two home runs, seven RBIs, and 10 runs scored. They were the two minor league all stars who represented the Mets organization Saturday evening in Atlanta. Tong and Bench came away on the victorious side of the Futures game as the National League's young stars defeated the American League 4-2. Tom pitched the top of the second for the National League squad. He tossed a scoreless frame and struck out Seattle Mariners prospect Harry Ford. Hmm. Yeah, Harry Ford. Harry Ford. Wait. Wait. Um. Wait a minute. Okay. The American League took the early 1-0 lead. 1-0 lead. Hold up a second. Yeah, 1-0 lead. Hold on. Hang on a second. All right. Yeah, 1-0 league. The American League took their early 1-0 lead in the top of the third. George Lombard Jr. walked and stole second before Max Clark singled to put two on, advancing Lombard to third. Braden Montgomery then grounded out to the right side, which allowed Lombard to score to make it a 1-0 American League lead. They extended their lead in the top of the fourth. Um, Josu Bricino tripled to center field, and Sebastian Walcott, Sebastian Walcott followed with a sacrifice fly that scored Bricino and made it a 2-0 AL lead. The National League youngsters took over the game and took the lead over the American League in the fourth. Back to back singles by Zahir Hope and Jesus Made led the way for a three-run home run by Josu Bay Paula that gave the National League a 3-2 lead over the AL. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, they're not in the booth yet. Actually, yeah, they're just outside. Hold on. Yeah, later in the inning, with two on, Owen Casey doubled to score Groover and extend the NL's lead to 4-2. Benge entered the game for the National League in the top of the fifth in left field in substitution of Dodgers prospect Josu D. Paula when he came to bat in the bottom of the fifth and flew out to left field to end that inning. He remained in the game to finish out the seventh inning matchup between the AL and NL that ended with the National League on top 4-2 in a fun battle of the futures of tomorrow. So far, the National League is undefeated for All Star Week 2025, which continues on Monday with the Home Run Derby. Yeah, Home Run Derby at 8 and All Star. I didn't watch the Home Run Derby. I did watch the MLB All Stars game actually, which I talked about that in episode 99. If y'all didn't if y'all didn't know about that, I did a little recap about that. So y'all are more than welcome to actually listen to that. And if you miss any episodes, like if you miss any episodes like episodes 95 through 100, please check out those episodes on YouTube. I'm trying to build more views actually with all the episodes that I'm trying to put out right now, including episode 101. All right. So there you go, right there. I want to say congratulations to Jonah Tong and Carson Benge for being for being the for being part of futures. What is it? Future games of tomorrow. Let's make some noise. I want to make some noise for Jonah Tong and Carson Benge, because these are the future players that will be coming up sometime next year, depending on how much development that they have to do. Yeah, let's make some noise for Carson Benge and Jonah Tong in futures games. All right. Let me take a look and see if I covered everything. I did cover the possible 5 targets for the New York Mets. Um, I I couldn't find. Yeah, I did see a video in regards to Brandon London, who actually picked five players actually to target. Now it's like I said when it comes to the when it comes to like making trades and stuff, it's all about choosing wisely, because you don't want to overspend and overpay a player and stuff and whatnot. So I would just, like I said before, man, I would just stick to what you have. All right. Um yeah, before I get up out of here, I haven't done this in a while actually, man. I haven't done this in a while. Podcast free game mechanisms. Let's get into it right here, right now, man. All right. This is the segment that I haven't done for a very long time. This is where I actually help some of you folks out there who want to start a podcast. This is where I actually give y'all some tips and stuff, and the types of equipment that you need. So let's get started here. Actually, now, like I always say at the end of an episode of the podcast, is that it's never too late to start a podcast. no matter what age you are, there's there's no right or wrong time to start a podcast. The same way there's no right or wrong way even hosting a podcast. And the main tip that I would say is to be yourself behind the microphone when you are doing your episode recordings. And also that I would also say that you know be confident in what you do. You feel what I'm saying? And I guarantee you'll be able to get to where you are and finding your niche. I would like to add some stuff that you need actually. So first and foremost, you need a you don't need to spend a lot of money on expensive recording studios to record your podcast and stuff. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. All you need, let me put myself back. Let me put myself on screen so I can actually explain this. So I can explain this to you better. All right. Okay, here we go. You don't need a fancy equipment. You don't need a fancy recording studio, so you don't have to waste a lot of money recording your episode podcast. There's some people who record in their office. There's some people who record in the comfort of their rooms, like I do, because it's safe. It's kind of safe to save some money, and and of course, you need headphones. You need a laptop. You need a microphone. Um, doesn't matter what type of microphone you are using. Any microphone will work in your favor. Like for me, I have an Alvoxcon um, microphone that comes with a USB plug. You can actually find microphones that comes with a USB plug. Um, you can actually search on Google. You can actually search on Target or Amazon, wherever website you choose to actually get your microphones and stuff. So, and for the most part of being a podcaster, like I said before, is be yourself. Be on your P's and Q's, and also be able to ask yourself this question: Are you doing this for the money and 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 attention, or are you doing this to actually be able to do it as a hobby? Um, and I say that and I say that because when you're doing this as a hobby, you don't want to feel too much peer pressure into trying to do certain things like charging people money to actually watch exclusive videos and stuff like that. That's not what I do. That's not really what you should do. I know everybody is a little different, but you know what I mean? You want to do your craft for the love for the you want to do it for the love, the fun, because it's a hobby. You can make a hobby into your dream and stuff. So, you know, yeah, and just enjoy the process of doing your podcast. Whatever topics you pick, Don't worry about any haters. Don't worry about don't worry about anybody who's not supporting you or whatever. You just keep going. Creating a podcast, creating episodes is a marathon, not a sprint. So, like I said, be on your P's and Q's on a with confidence. And I guarantee when you do that, you will be you will be successful in the long run of your journey. All right, man. Time for time for this. Stream choices on the go. Let's get to it. Yeah, this is the segment where I tell you where you could be informed on where you can follow the podcast on social media and streaming platforms. Sorry for banging. Trying to figure out what the hell's going on with my thing. So forgive me for that, actually. Forgive me. Um, Hold on one second, folks. um, okay. All right, here we go. Stream choices on the go. Let's go. Okay, make sure you follow the Sports Edition Show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast on Blue Sky Social, Facebook, Threads, and alongside with Instagram. All right. You can also follow, and same goes with my other podcast shows that's also on social media platforms, which includes my entertainment review show, Meticulous Vibes podcast, my comedy Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast. It's also on there as well. And of course, you can follow your host with the most on Threads and Instagram, G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York. And I will gladly go over I'm glad to go over some streaming platforms where you can actually listen to the podcast and stuff. Now, before I go on, I want to actually say something. Actually, the reason why I'm barely on X is because a lot of times there's like certain individuals, not all, but there's certain individuals that are very toxic, and I'm barely on there. But sometimes I'll be making some posts. I'll be making some posts on there in regards to the episodes. I'm also on X as well, G Money Stacks 555 as well. So I'm also on there as well. So y'all more than welcome to actually follow me on there as well. As well as my primary comedy Off the Meat Rat Change New York Avenue podcast that's also on X as well. I'm going to be covering two accounts. So that's pretty much what that is actually. So yeah. I just wanted to put it out there. So I will try my best to actually post the episodes on X and along with the social media platforms. And where you can listen to the episodes, you go to the link in bio on the sports Instagram page. You're gonna see excellent, fun, vibrant talks pod. Um, and when you click on there, you're gonna see some links to streaming platforms, which includes Audible, Odyssey, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to rate and give a 5-star rating. It will encourage me, along with some confidence, to create more content for you folks out there that's listening. And I appreciate that. So, um, so the sports podcast is also on Castbox FM, Deezer, Listen Notes, Moon FM podcast, Overhaul FM podcast, Player FM, um, Pocket Cast, Pandora, Podo Polo, Podorama Podcast, Index Podcast Addict, Pod Chaser, Podverse, Podcast Guru, Podcatcher, Podcast Republic, Snipped, Spotify. Make sure you add the podcast to your Spotify playlist so you can listen and stream the episodes. And of course, we're on Spotify for creators. You can also comment on there to tell me what you think about the sports topics in this episode and the trade rumors and Francisco Alvarez coming back, Gregory Soto, and all the other topics that that I covered in today's episode. And and we're also on TuneIn Radio, Fountain, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, the number one app where you can listen to your favorite music artists, including your favorite rappers, singers of R&B and different music genres, radio stations, and of course the sports podcast episodes for free. You don't need a credit card or debit card to download iHeartRadio. All you need to do is basically follow the podcast by subscribing on iHeartRadio, along with streaming platforms that I just mentioned. And of course, do the same. Do the same for YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the sports YouTube channel page of Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast. That's right. Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast is on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe on there. Be sure to leave a like and a comment, and also share the sports podcast with your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, girlfriends, the people you are cool with from work, and of course share the link. Share the link tree link with the links of streaming platforms on there as well. Spread the word. Word of mouth is important, and add the podcast to your Spotify playlist, and of course enable alerts for more video podcast episode live stream recordings, video uploads, and of course, before I forget, be sure to press the notification bell so you'll be notified on when I'll be going live on YouTube for more new sports topics, including the New York Mets, and of course, new episodes will be dropping Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All right. Now, so So yeah, there you go, right there. I do want to remind. I do want to remind y'all on the the. I do want to remind y'all on the the game telecast of each game that's happening. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here. Actually, yeah, give me 1 second, folks. Okay. Okay. So tomorrow, the New York Mets will be taking on the San Diego Padres at 4:10 p.m. on SNY. Following a day off on Thursday and Friday, the Mets play on Friday, August 1st. Um, they're gonna be the New York Mets are going to be at Citi Field with the San Francisco Giants, who they swept. Um, and that's a 7:10 p.m. Start. And speaking of August 1st, man, if y'all are interested in checking out Wardy Day, you might wanna get your tickets right away, because the tickets are gonna be selling out a little bit fast. So if you like to check out Wardy Day with Wardy from um, who is also a YouTuber, content creator. You may have seen him in interviews on the New York Post sports section with Dexter Henry sometimes, along with others. He sometimes has guests on there, and of course, you can get tickets to Wardy Day through SeatGeek, and of course, the promo code is Wardy10. All right, now Now, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till the last minute though for Wardy Day, man. And this event is basically for you folks out there who are New York Mets fans. Y'all get to hang out with him. Y'all get to talk New York Mets baseball talk. Y'all get to you got to you can enjoy like the fireworks. Matter of fact, there's the night of the fireworks, all that great stuff right there, and along with many things, of course, you get to talk with him, you get to take pictures with him, you get to you get to you get to not only hang out, but you also get you know what you know what go subscribe to Wardy NYM um on YouTube. Subscribe over there. He will fill you in on the promo and everything else. So during the post games and stuff. So today, today during the post game, you'll find out more. You'll find out more information in terms of some stuff to do during Wardy Day. I don't really have all the details, but he has all the details for you out for you Mets fans at home. So subscribe to Wardy NYM on YouTube, and of course, there is a link there's a link that I copied. There's a link that I copied. I don't think I'm going to be able to look for it right now, but he's gonna pin it in his live stream. He's gonna pin it in his live stream, so don't worry. All right. So Friday, August 1st, don't miss out on Woody Day and get the ticket. You can get the tickets through SeatGeek, and promo code is Woody10. And of course, if 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 he asks who sent you, tell him G Money Stacks from Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast, my sports podcast that I'm doing, sent you there. All right. So there you go. There you go right there, man. Just a little quick reminder of Woody Day and of course some Mets telecast that I actually wanted to actually remind you of. So without further ado, I'm about to get up out of here. I'm about to get up out of here. That's gonna do it for me. I'm your man G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator. And I'd like to say thank you to every single one of you out there, especially those who listen through um, you know, New York, Cambria Heights, Queens, Brooklyn, and the other boroughs, and of course other states, international places, which I'm not gonna have time to name all of them. I do appreciate this, man, and it really builds up my confidence. And of course, like I said, please subscribe to this sports channel right here, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast. I am going to pump out more episodes in the future, and I'm going to recap some other stuff that I didn't get a chance to talk about. So so there you go right there. And like I said, in the future, I am going to do a little aftermath episode of the trade deadline highlights and stuff, and who got dealt and who didn't. So yeah, so this is, like I said, this is a wait and see type of thing of what's happening on Thursday. I'm not one of those particular people who likes to speculate, who likes to basically overthink on players and stuff, because that's not me. That's not me. And I'm not one of those Mets fans who want to give up on a player like Mark Vientos or anybody else for that matter, though, because every player, like I said, every player goes through slumps and rock bottoms, a rut, all that stuff, man. I mean, everybody's not robots. You know what I mean? And like I said, and of course, remember the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it, because it's not going to be given to you on a fucking silver platter. Um, and yeah, be on your p's and q's. Be on your p's and q's. Be confident. Be yourself behind the microphone. Find your niche, and of course, your talent and all that other stuff. Um, that makes you happy creatively, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that gets you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. All right. And look, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game and how you finish it. It's how you play the game and how you finish the game. All right. So look, man. And I also want to say, man, it's impossible to make every person, including New York Mets fan, very happy. It is not easy. Okay, you can't please everybody. So I want you folks at home, especially those who are podcasters and whatnot, to not waste your energy trying to please and make everybody happy, because at the end of the day, not everybody is going to be pleased. The only person you have to please is your fucking self. Please yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you make yourself happy, then you worry about other people. Okay? And of course, I will, and of course, in in the future, I will be doing some podcast recommendations for sports, but I'm not gonna have time to do that right now as I'm watching the Mets and San Diego Padres through my Android tablet right now. I'm about to run up out of here and watch it, and I will do a recap of the game series of the Angels and the Giants that the New York Mets swept in the 7 game winning streak and stuff. So this is the second game they're playing with the Padres right now. I think it's scoreless right now. So I'm out of here. Peace and one love. Be careful out there, and I hope y'all are staying cool during this heat wave. I hope y'all have your water, your Gatorades, your, your icicles, your Italian icings, your ice creams, your sunscreens for the beach. And I know the subway stations are very hot. There's barely any air conditioning, and I know sometimes with the bus rides on transit, especially Long Island buses like Nice Bus and other bus organizations in Long Island, barely has any air conditioning and stuff like that. I do feel bad for you folks out there, and of course for those who are doing deliveries and stuff, whether you are FedEx, UPS, um, Amazon drivers who deliver packages to customers' doors, um, Instacart deliveries, groceries, um, beverages, beverage delivery, and all that other stuff. Please have your water with you. Have have more than one bottle of water with you during the heat wave and stuff, and any hot weather whatsoever. And and yeah, and yeah. All right. If you're looking for cooling centers, please call 311 so they'll give you some information on cooling centers that you could go to in a neighborhood near you. All right. And you can go to the website find www.finder.nyc.gov/cooling centers. All right. There's going to be some list of cooling centers that you can go to. And of course, you know, some people got the right idea of of keeping themselves cool with the water sprinklers and stuff. So there you go, right there. There's gonna be another round of a heat wave and all that other stuff. So you know, do the same tomorrow. Have your water with you at all times, along with your Gatorade and electrolytes that you may need. And and of course, please don't don't pass out with a heat stroke or anything like that. Just be careful out there, be safe out there, and I'll see y'all next time in the next episode of the Sports Edition Show. Excellent, fun, vibrant talks podcast. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm out of here. Peace and one love. Let's go, Mets. Good night, everybody.